Have you been to Merchant, the iconic downtown cocktail bar and restaurant? Merchant helped define Madison's first settlement district with their soulful American cuisine, pioneering cocktail program, and warm hospitality. Whether you're grabbing brunch or settling in for a date night, it's a welcoming space where industry staff, locals, and visitors feel at home. Come experience Merchant in the heart of Madison's first settlement district. Learn more or make a reservation at merchantmadison.com. Hey, candle lovers! Got empty jars from your favorite Wisco Home Goods soy candles? Don't toss them, bring them back. Swing by Wisco Home Goods store at 4664 Cottage Grove Road and get $1 off your in-store purchase for every jar you return. They'll clean them up and reuse them in their next batch. Good for the planet and your wallet. Shop local, breathe easy, feel good with Wisco Home Goods. Today on CityCast Madison. Is there a more time-honored summer tradition in our city than the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra's concerts on the square? People wait all year for this iconic series. Tomorrow, Wednesday, June 25th, kicks off the 2025 season. Starting this week, concerts will run every Wednesday evening through the end of July and feature the full orchestra and special guests performing on our Capitol grounds. To get you an inside scoop on the season ahead, our executive producer Hayley Sperling sat down with the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra musical director, Maestro Andrew Sewell. It's Tuesday, June 24th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about.
Andrew, welcome back to CityCast Madison. We are so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's really good to be here. Yeah.
Great. So you are here to talk about Madison's favorite summer tradition, which starts tomorrow, which is so exciting. Concerts on the Square. For those who aren't familiar with the summer event series from the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra, you guys hold this series of free concerts right outside of the Capitol. Folks pack up picnics, they meet up with friends, and they enjoy this fantastic orchestral music. Andrew, how do you describe concerts on the Square to folks who might not be familiar with the summer festivity?
Concerts on the Square is in its 42nd year. It was set up in 1984 by Pleasant Rowland at the EVU Foundation and was an idea of getting the public to reinvigorate the downtown. And it started with a vision to just have some free concerts on the Square back in 1984. I went through a summer of about 3 concerts. At the time, my predecessor, David Lewis Crosby, was conducting the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra, and it started then. It has grown now over the years. I've been doing it for 25 years as music director. And from my time when I arrived in 2000, the programs have expanded, have always been 6 concerts. They're free to the public. They start the last Wednesday of June around the summer solstice, that being because it's the longest daylight hours. They are free on the King Street corner, and the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra continues to be the orchestra that provides this free summer event. The audiences have grown exponentially since I came. They were at the sort of 10 to 12,000 mark when I first started, and now it's upwards of 40 to 45,000. And those are based on capital city police density numbers. There are a lot of things that go towards making this concert on the Square possible. It costs about $180,000 each Wednesday to the tune of about $1.1 million to mount. It brings a lot of income to the businesses around the Square, so it's a huge civic undertaking, and it's all free. We make the concerts available through private donations, sponsorships. No tax dollars go towards this. And so we have to raise the money each year, and it's incumbent upon us to make it a free and friendly, family-friendly event for all. Sometimes the concerts are broadcast on Wisconsin Public Television, at least 1, if not 2 a year. And this year it's going to be the 3rd concert on July the 9th. But on the eve of the first one, we are very happy to be bringing to Madison the Motown group Radiance from Las Vegas. and we're calling it Dancing in the Street. It's a program that will feature one of our local composers, Autumn Maria Reid, her mental health suite to open the concert, 3 movements from that. And then following that, it will be the gals from Radiance. I heard them in person last September. They have another group called Spectrum, which is the all-male version, and they often collaborate one program. We had Spectrum on the Square 3 years ago, and they were spectacular. So we're inviting the women to come back and give their versions, such hits as Heat Wave, Freeway of Love, Come See About Me, Stop in the Name of Love, Donna Summer Medley, Love's Theme, Natural Woman, Respect, and Ain't No Mountain High Enough. So there's something for everyone.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. I want to dig into that next. You touched a little bit on the lineup of who's coming up first. We've got those Motown hits, and then talking a little bit about what's coming up in July. Who else is on the lineup for this year? What are you excited about?
There are 6 programs. 2 of them are pops oriented. That's the first one and the fifth one. The fifth one is Dark Side of the Moon with Genes and Classics. It's a playlist of one side of the album Dark Side of the Moon and the other one of The Wall.
Oh, the Pink Floyd albums.
Yeah, Pink Floyd. A lot of people are showing a great interest in that. That's on July the 23rd. Genes and Classics is a group out of Canada who have got over 50 charts, programs of orchestral arrangements of some of the most iconic bands, anywhere from the Beatles to Earth, Wind and Fire to the Eagles, you name it. We've had them probably, this is the 8th time on the Square in some shape or form. We're excited to have them back. The second program is dedicated to our July 4th program on celebrating the Independence Day, as well as featuring 2 of our young concert artist competition winners. So I'm excited about that. It brings families onto the Square. We have the 1812 Overture. We have the veterans stand up for the Armed Forces Salute, as well as featuring 2 young soloists, Andre Previn-Peck on the piano and Andre Raghavan, who's a violinist, both playing concertos that they played for our young artist competition back in February.
Are those local performers? Those
They
2?
are.
That's
they
awesome.
Are. Well, they're from around the state. I believe the pianist is from La Crosse area, and Andre is here in Madison playing the violin. Continuing on, the American song on July the 9th features Angela Brown, a Met star, singing 3 works by John Carter, Nagori Okoye, and Gershwin's iconic Summertime from Porky Bess. Surrounding those are all works by living African-American composers. Quentin Blatch's Habari Ghani. For orchestra, Regina Harris-Bialke, a Chicago-based composer, her muse for orchestra. Omar Thomas of our New Day Begun, and James Lee III's Emotive Transformations. These are all composers probably not known to the public, but certainly in the classical realm, they are up-and-coming and established composers. And then we finish with Bernstein's Fancy 3 Dance Variation. So along with Angela Brown, that's going to be a very exciting program. The 4th program, Mozart and Mahler, features Johanna Weinholz, our harpist, and our principal flute, Brandon LePage, performing works for harp and flute, along with guest conductor Yaniv Deneur. So it's a more classical program featuring Marriage of Figaro by Mozart, the Symphony No. 40, as well as Mahler's Adagietto from Symphony No. 5. Brandon's going to perform a work by Carlos Simon called Movements for Flute and Orchestra, and Johanna will perform the Debussy Danse Sacrée and Danse Profane for harp and strings. That's going to be a lovely program on July the 16th, and really features the chamber orchestra in its sort of indoor, the way you might expect in one of our Masterworks concerts.
Yeah, it feels like a really, really classic, like you would go to the Overture Center for that sort of lineup, but you guys are playing it outside for free, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then we finish with, I mentioned the Dark Side of the Moon on July the 23rd, and then finally on July the 30th, Shostakovich and Beethoven. This is an all-classical program. Eric Gould, an American city that was based upon the commission by the city of Canton. Eric Gould, another composer, African-American composer from the Boston area. Followed by Shostakovich's Piano Concerto No. 2 with Sylvia Zhang. She's a Juilliard grad, spectacular pianist on the rise. And then we complete the program with Beethoven's Symphony No. 5, an iconic classical work with the famous Fate Knocking at the Door theme that will conclude our summer season.
Wow, that is a truly wide-ranging lineup. And I'm curious too, you mentioned some of the youth performers that are going to be coming out. Are there any other like sort of guest performers who are going to be accompanying the orchestra? You mentioned a couple already.
Well, we've got Tunes and Classics. We've also got the two young performers. We've got the Motown group that's performing tomorrow evening, and our own harpist, flutist, and the pianist, as I mentioned. So there's a lot of talent going to be on the square as a soloist this summer.
Meta AI is the personal AI to help you with whatever you need. Plus, it meets you where you are. Not only is Meta AI now an app, but it's also on the apps you already know and love: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Plus the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. It's easy to access wherever you are. So whether you're talking or texting, Meta AI is convenient to use throughout your day. Experience our newest AI that's tailored to you by downloading the Meta AI app. Try the Meta AI app today on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
Let's talk about logistics, because you mentioned there are tens of thousands of people that show up to this event. It is huge. It is no small feat. What time do you typically recommend folks arrive to the Capitol lawn to get set up and get a good spot?
That's a good question. People show up at 12 o'clock and sit on their blankets for 3 hours. You're not allowed to leave them unattended until 3. And that's because of the damage to the lawn that, can hurt the grass. So that's been the rule that the Capitol Police have put us on, and those are just the rules. So if you want to come down and put a blanket down after 3 o'clock, you can leave them there. People set up throughout the afternoon. Obviously, the stage and all of our logistics start early in the morning at 9 o'clock, and by the time people arrive, we've got all the tables set up. There's over 100 tables set up in front of the Capitol Square on the King Street corner, as well as a stage and vendors that come in the afternoon, food vendors, drink vendors. There is a kids area as well.
Oh, nice. And
the streets are open until 5 for people to drive. Once that happens, they close them off. So parking is always a bit of a challenge. You can get them in any of the civic parking garages. Those are available, off-street parking, or people ride their bikes down.
Madison loves bikes. We love the bikes.
Yes.
We love the bus.
That's right. And, we have screens this year. We've had them for the last 3 years. So we've got 5 screens around the Capitol so that people who may sit on the Hamilton Street corner or the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard corner, there are screens that they can actually view, which gives much more connection to what's happening on stage around the corner on King Street. And, of course, we have entire around the square coverage sound-wise presented by JEM Productions, a production company out of Warsaw who've been with us for the last several years now. One of the exciting things that happens on the square for the July 4th program on Wednesday, July the 2nd, is the appearance of 16 cannons that get shot off the building on the corner there. Last year we didn't have them. We were just a little sensitive to current world events. We are bringing them back this year, and it's often something that gets people excited for the 1812 Overture.
Yeah, big boom. What can go wrong there, right? Get the people going. So the screens, that's great. So there really isn't a bad view in the house. If you're there for the music and you really want to see the performances, where do you say is like the best spot for folks to get set up and enjoy?
Well, that's a good question. For many years, my wife and our children used to sit up and dutifully go down there and sit on a blanket, stage left, just in that quadrant there. If you want to get up and close and personal and actually see the performers, right in front on the King Street is probably your best view. For a more relaxed environment where you can chit-chat with your friends and not bother anyone, you sit further out and further away from the stage, and that's always appreciated. People come down for all sorts of reasons, and that's part of the cool thing about Concerts on the Square. There are many anniversaries, birthdays, marriage proposals, you know,
wow.
all sorts of things that have gone on over the years. And now we see generations of families coming down who are now got their own families, and they remember coming down as a child or a teenager and accompanying their family. So it's got a really good vibe about it. In the nature of the People's Square, I think it provides a wonderful opportunity for people to come together. And that's the whole point about Concerts on the Square. It brings families, brings a community together to share in music, which, you know, is an important thing.
Oh, I mean, I agree 110%. Some of my favorite Madison memories have come from being at Concerts on the Square and have come from, you know, setting up that picnic blanket with friends and pouring a little glass of wine. We usually bring solo cups and like a little mini charcuterie board. And, you know, sometimes people, they really go all out.
I want to be on your blanket.
Well, you're invited. You're always invited. But, you know, you touched on a little bit too, that there is a little bit of an etiquette, a little bit of a divide between folks who are like here to see the music and folks who are here to maybe drink some wine in public. So, you know, I'm not only here to just enjoy, but and tee-hee with friends, but it is a little bit more casual. Like, where do you sort of like draw the line of, if you're here to hang out with your friends, it's better to sit farther back. It's better to, you know, be off to the side. Where would you point folks in that direction?
I think people just enjoy sitting on the quadrants, you know. I mean, if people that are at the tables generally buy tables to listen to the music, typically it's a little quieter by around the table area, and the further out you go, it gets a little noisier. I mean, I think it's self-managing. You know,
Sure.
I've heard of people shushing people and go, shh, I can't hear the music, and they get a little uptight about it. I think as long as everybody's respectful, you know,
Yeah.
as long as everybody's respectful to one another, that's about the best you can ask for. And typically, if people want to party, they'll go somewhere where they're not going to bother anybody.
Yeah, that's so fair.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
The rural way of life is about making everyone feel at home. Tractor Supply chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform intelligent customer service. Together, we put the power of AI to work across 2,200 stores, keeping things running seamlessly inside, curbside, and countryside. This is elevated customer experience. This is Tractor Supply with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
People bring their own food and drink and games and whatnot. But if you're not bringing your own picnic, what other food options are out there? You mentioned that some vendors are there.
Yes, well, at the tables, you can sign up through the website for food through our restaurant. That's the really highest end, you know, Dan Fox's restaurant that he runs.
Oh, yeah,
as
Heritage
well as,
Tavern.
Yeah, Heritage, excuse me. And yes, and so that's kind of like the high end. You can get family style food delivered to your table. We do have, I think, a blanket service where people can, in the past, we've paid some money. You can get your blanket put down if you can't get down there early enough to do it. Just call the office for those things. There is a beer, obviously, there's beer and wine available that you can purchase, and there's food, all sorts of food items from local vendors and businesses that do a tremendous trade and service to us, and we're very grateful for that. Of course, people can bring their own picnic hampers and set up their own little tables and things. There is some rules about not having deck chairs, too high, so you restrict view of people behind you, and not putting tables with sticky points in the ground because it hurts the grass. Just it's quite an undertaking to have all of that foot traffic on the square. So we just have to follow those guidelines.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like going on a hike, right? Hopefully leave no trace. Don't bring any lawn chairs that are going to make a mess on our nice, beautiful Capitol grass, and clean up your trash afterwards. That's all we can ask of people, right?
Yeah.
And, it's been a couple of hot and rainy weeks here in Madison. What happens to y'all if weather forces you to cancel? Where can folks find that information? When do you make the call?
So that's a really good question. We have a rain call so that if it's really bad and we have to postpone, not cancel the concert, we postpone it till the next day, Thursday. That call is generally made at 3:00 in the afternoon. We do, if it's a little suspect and iffy, we might delay that call. But for the most part, we try to make the call. Sometimes, if it's going to be a rain shower that'll hit at 6 and then it dries out at 7, we might delay the concert and we will let people know.
Sure.
And we reserve that right. Once or twice we've had to shorten the program because the predictability of how quickly rainstorms or weather can happen is still up in the air. But the most important thing is safety for the crowd. So crowd management is important. And so getting out that word is pretty much, if it is postponed, we get it out pretty smartly at 3:00, and people have to just turn around and come back the next day. Obviously, it's not taken lightly. We tend to lose audience because people make plans and they've got other plans in place. But all of our guest artists and our musicians have both evenings booked because we need to.
So you're prepared.
We're prepared, and we've found a good way to kind of compromise. For the most part, a couple of times we've had to have a shortened program. We don't cut out too many of the pieces, but we just basically run the program for an hour and let people go home safely without an intermission, and that's worked as well. Or
Sure.
We've had to delay and start it at 7:30, and so then we go to 8:30. But typically we try to end the concerts by, at the latest, 8:40, 8:45, before it gets dark. People can get home safely,
For sure. And so where would folks find out that information? Like on your social media, on an email?
www.coconcerts.org, and Instagram, and I guess Facebook as well as our website. That's the best.
We'll definitely throw links to those in our show notes as well so folks can keep up. And, you mentioned this at the top of the conversation, but you've been with Concerts on the Square, you've been managing this program for just about 25 years. And I'm curious how you've seen Concerts on the Square change since you've started as the WCO music director back in 2000.
Thank you very much. That's nice. Well, first of all, David Lewis Crosby was here for 28 years, and he unfortunately passed on his way to a concert on the Square. So there was a lot of kind of haloed ground for those first few years, lots of comments about big shoes to fill, and he really created the modern day Concerts on the Square that you had come to see. It was slightly different when I arrived. People were pretty chatty, and it was loud, and the pieces tend to be loud and short and fast, and I started to modify the program so that it was actually a concert that people could be listening to, and classical music and things that they would recognize, as well as introduce other things. We had some pops numbers. So over the years we've had, a great diversity of programs. And so it's really developed into a Concerts on the Square format, if you like. And how I would describe that is, music that you would know, perhaps, 8 to 10 minutes in length, a succession of pieces that would be familiar to most people. There are a few pieces that they wouldn't know. They might know the genre or the language. When we have done like a full symphony, as you'll hear, the Beethoven's 5, it's a pretty well-known piece. So any novice in classical music would be able to go, aha, I've heard that piece before.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many pieces that we do each year, like the 1812 Overture tradition and the Armed Forces Salute. And a number of veterans do come down when their branches is called and stand up to be recognised for their service, which is a really wonderful thing. I get goosebumps every time that happens. And so it's become a a format that's really endeared itself to the public and the musicians themselves. We play under the shadow of the Capitol. It's in the shade of the Capitol, so they don't get direct sun on them. We do get a bit of wind, so we have to be prepared with clothes pegs, and we've all got our ways of dealing with wind blowing our music off. We've got some very ingenious ways, in fact. We have to have clothing and concert attire that will both be not too sweltering if it's hot or not too cold if it's, and we can put jackets on if we need to.
Sure.
And, we've seen everything from straight line winds and, imposing thunderstorms to, Canadian wildfire smoke that we had to cancel, which was 2 years ago, which was the first time ever we had to cancel both Wednesday and Thursday. But that was a first. So, we get to see a lot of interesting things. For safety reasons, we do have the typical safety and security things that happen. We've got sniffer dogs and bomb squad dogs that check out the stage. You wouldn't know it because the police do such an amazing job. We've always got security and Capitol Police on hand should there be any trouble or any disruption. We have not had that. It's been a very civil and well attended and appreciated event. So knock on wood, we intend this tradition to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it really is truly such a beloved event, and one that, as you mentioned, brings so many folks from the community together. And, that's one thing that we've talked about on this podcast a lot is just people in Madison are really longing for community and really longing to, feel connected with the people that live in their neighborhoods and the people that they see, every day, but might not actually get a chance to say hello. And so I think Concerts on the Square is really just such a great, kind of illustration of Madison being in community together and really taking that in. And it's a nice thing, wouldn't you say?
It's very nice. It is indeed nice. There are a lot of people that entertain for business reasons. A business might, buy a table for the 6 weeks of concerts. They entertain clients or they entertain their friends or they donate a table. We've got several patrons that donate tables. I've got friends that buy 2 tables for their veteran buddies and even to give away. So it's truly kind and important that people have those opportunities. We've got a couple that come give away a table at a raffle. This year we have a woman that's going to guest conduct the orchestra because she won it in our Concerts and Cuisine Gala auction.
Oh, wow.
So that's something we put up every year, and she's going to attend on the second concert on the square. She's going to conduct the Stars and Stripes Forever.
That sounds, I'm not going to lie, I would be a little nervous. I'd be kind of stressed out if I were up there not knowing how to be a music conductor.
Well, it's your bucket list. It depends what it is. So.
True. So true. So true. Well, Andrew, this has been such a good conversation. And before we let you go, I got to ask, is there a concert that is on your absolute must-see from this year's lineup? Which one are you most excited for?
Well, I am a Pink Floyd diehard fan, so
there it is.
I have to say it's one of my favorites to finally get these guys on there. I'm very curious to know the type of reaction the audience will bring in. I mean, it's an iconic band. It's something certainly my generation have grown up with, and now we've got a whole lot of younger generation that goes in cycles. I do remember that when we had ABBA and the Beatles, it was crazy. So I imagine it's going to be the same for that.
I love it. I love it. Well, we will see you on the dark side of the moon, right, Sean?
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. This has been great.
Appreciate the time and have a great summer. Thank you.
That was Andrew Sewell, conductor and music director of the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra, chatting with executive producer Hayley Sperling. Concerts kick off this Wednesday and run through the end of July. They start at 7 p.m., and if you want good seats, get there early. If you want to learn more about Concerts on the Square's season and their schedule, head to our show notes for a link. And hey, we have been talking about momentous celebrations, y'all. We're so stoked to be nominated again for Madison Magazine's Best of Madison 2025 for local podcast. Y'all, putting it on your radar, we are in the last week of voting. So that means the last week you can help name us Best of Madison. If you value us and our work for the community, please consider taking a moment to vote CityCast Madison Best Local Podcast of 2025. And for our newsletter, Madison Minutes, for Best Local News Website of 2025. We'd so appreciate it. We know you got us, fam. The link to vote is in our show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with the person you take to concerts? Hopefully you or them have a really cute blanket and some fun snacks. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until next time, take good care, y'all.